Hello everyone, welcome. So we're gonna be doing some commentary here. I am hopefully gonna be okay with this. I'm gonna skip some like little bits here and there, so you won't have to sit through all of this. I figured I'd go over the stuff that mattered and try and just give extra detail to it, as well as just little bits here and there. This happens to be like the biggest update I've done. So I just figured it was important that I try and, at least for certain bits, give more context. So this took like, I think, 13 months. Hey, Voidly. This took 13 months to put out, and most of that was spent doing levels. Um, and then working on some animations in like the last few months. But a lot of it was cut out. I could have just simply put like a ton of stuff from streaming, but I was warned against that. So even though we had like 30 minutes of dev stuff in this, um, that was the cut down version. This is also the biggest amount of new footage, unique footage that we've had anywhere. Like the interior here and this shot with Burger Pants. Oh, we'll talk about cut content later. This shot with like Burger Pants and the interior shot here, I actually made specifically for this because I didn't want to fake anything properly. So what we then had is like a new transition. So we get this part of the resort actually bolted onto the core approach. So that was pretty cool. I didn't do that originally. Here we've got everybody that either gave ideas, models, artwork, or money to the project in the opening credits. Let's see. Ash and Jenny says Mao are the ones that were previously on there, along with memes for creating the models and for doing Snowden, and then we've got Inky and Jitlag and Inky for the Burger Pants model, and then Sammy for the artwork and Latiprod for the Snowden reference, that being the buildings from Snowden, and then Unidelta for the Mew Mew model, and Rev obviously for helping kickstart everything at the very beginning. I have to say, I don't know why, but every single time I've done an update, I start with this. I don't know why. I can't help myself. I'm just like, okay, how do I open? It's been a long time, hasn't it? It usually is a little bit of a long time between updates, but this was the craziest. This was one I wanted to have a laugh with, Asriel coming back. And yeah, we've got realistic 3D tutorial, just getting bombarded by physics cones here with laser vision. I didn't know what to do. I modeled her to use her in some kind of like trailer in future, and she was pretty easy to model actually. Um, and then and then I just didn't know how to use her, and at the time we'd been using cones for like jokes. This was like ages ago now on Undernet. This was around about the same time I did Cone Tail. So these are literally the Cone Tail cones just dropping on realistic tutorial for the sake of laughs. This was from a stream where I had Papyrus animated running across stream with the Undertale yellow, I think, chase sounds from Axis on in the background. That was me going crazy. This one, I needed a random cut in here, and it just happens to be Green shouting, "Hey guys, I just got injected with drugs." I'm just like, what? What is even that? Again, like with this is when I was doing the library, and I'm like, okay, I'll do Evie's bit where she's doing Martlet's VA, and for some strange reason, Martlet just decided to just spin around in circles. It was just like, what? When I was previewing it. This is a bit with Creeper where I was just dancing. A bit of VRC footage. The reason why this has no audio at the moment is because the previous video got claimed. And yeah, I didn't want to go through that again, so this is a snippet of what's to come later, which is the physics mess up with Mew Mew. and then the demo for Saroba. That was a major point for the project. Screw copyright, I know, right? I always love doing mess arounds with like all the characters. They're so funny, and I think this was an instance of me first using physics as well for the characters. But I actually went and got a video of somebody doing a kickflip in like slow mo, and then just had a laugh with one of the old jokes of Underground Pro Skater, and it's repeated throughout the updates. You can see it in one of the other ones. And I was just like, go on, I'll go all in and do a unique animation with Toriel, because one of the instances of VR that we talked in was just like multiple ideas, and one of them was Toriel just kickflipping Asgore. There's just some random footage from one of the streams that I ended up using. The same animation that I use later on of Metaton, which is also a reference to Balan Wonderland, I think it is, or Wonderworld, because of the hat and the dance, but it doesn't have the same effects that it does later on. That was an earlier version. Then there's Wally and Eevee, Frisk and Martlet and Saroba, respectively, just messing around in VR a while ago. The barrier. I'll talk about that later. The barrier is actually really cool. Doing all of the core here. I'll try not talking too much about the actual areas too much, more so the footage and everything that is before that, because like the other behind the scenes will go over the individual areas in a lot more detail. I love making these jokes about Heartland, just primarily because we'd been going back and doing that so much. It became like a massive pain trying to do Heartland for the project, but now it's done. And then this bit, I didn't actually use the rest of this footage of Dark Void Core talking, but this was, I should put it as like another behind the scenes. This was a very important part of the project where Dark is very interested in what I'm doing with the player's story, and the thing is, I always like talking to her to try and get sort of like feedback and stuff on just creative aspects and things like that, like I do with everybody else, but more for like a narrative side of things or ideas, and because Dark's been making her own AU for like 2 to 3 years, I think it is. And this was one instance where I was in a server alone with her, I think it was. And I just told her the original idea for Immersiontale before I started kind of putting Frisk in it way more. And she was like, no, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot more than just shoving Frisk in there and having done with it. You know, like completely overwriting the player. So, yeah, that was a really important talk that I think I need to actually put in behind the scenes. Yeah, it really was. Best year for feedback, though, because it changed everything. Then there's part of the player logging in with Frisk in the background. That one's a really interesting shot as well, because the souls are in the same position for the player, so they're on like the front and the back in the same position. But it looks different because it's over Frisk's shoulder. And then we've got the effects. Doing these effects and finally getting the windows looking good. That was so fun. The lack of optimization joke being the fact that we were loading 60 versions of Heartland at the same time. I had to do this as well for Alvin. Like, you can't see it here, but during development, Alvin ended up almost dying. And yeah, we made a big push to make sure Alvin was okay during that, and it was crazy. I'm glad Alvin is okay now. So I thought that was important enough to put in as like a community celebration. You know, Alvin's been here for like ages watching all of these videos and stuff, so that felt like it was right at home, you know, in terms of like it should be in there. Because a lot of this, even though it's an update for the project, a lot of the community has involvement. So, yeah, it made sense. The for anyone who wants to know what map he's in as well, it's the LiDAR version of Snowden, I think. We were just messing around with it. Can I persuade you to add a little? If I can get the model, John. This bit with Paps, just doing the Akira slide. I just wanted something funny. Originally, what was happening was we had Onion San on the back of the bike, and it's also the first instance you see of better particle effects in the project. Basically, I was throwing everything in here, like new level, new particles, better animations, and I don't think everybody quite takes that in when you first watch it. You're just kind of taken away by what's going on and how crazy it is. But yeah, all of this stuff was just showing off everything that's new and how it works pretty nicely together. And then for a laugh, I just threw on like some pixel sunglasses on Papyrus, and then made him ride Shadow the Hedgehog's bike of all things, because I just thought it looked cool. The funniest part about it is, even though you don't see it, the mirrors on the bike actually work properly. I'll have to do maybe like a behind the scenes for that, but they actually work and reflect everything. I went in that much detail. And there we go, we've got Lucky and Voidly commenting on about the fact that it's taken forever for this update to come out and they hope it's going to be good. And that just felt like a funny bit there. But there was more to that. The problem is that in the process of trimming the entire update down, part of that got cut. Here we go. We just put the voice on low there. This is a neat little addition I thought people would respect or like, was the accurate save and load screen for Undertale, including the out to lunch sign and also the pillars in the back and the characters on screen. This is all accurate if you're at, I think it's Heartland. So yeah, this was all accurate, including like the save file and everything. I went back into my actual Undertale playthrough that I referenced in this video, and found out how many hours had been put in it, and just went, yeah, there we go. At least I think I did. If I remember rightly, all these characters are posed exactly how they should be as well. But a lot of this footage focuses on the soul and everything, and I tried making all of the presentation look so much better than every other one, where I've just kind of cut things together and just away we go. This one was like, no, I'm gonna make a really big impact with this, so I better make it look nice. You know, make the trailer canon by having photos of them in different places. That'd be cool. I always start with what you saw last time as well, like this with Waterfall, because even though it takes up a little bit of time, I thought it was worth it, because for people who didn't know about that, then they get to see Waterfall. This bit was so funny. Memes and me have just like this joke ongoing where occasionally we'll just be like, no, dude, don't even talk about Heartland, and I'll be like, oh, okay. And they are severely tormented by Heartland now. So I was like, I'll make one more joke. I'll make one more joke animation. I'll do that. You know. So, there we go. Using the players model. The players model with an addition that people have noticed a little bit. I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. The addition being the heterochromia eyes properly without glow, and the hair actually has physics on it. The hair actually has the same physics and wiggle bones that I was using for everybody else, because that was part of this, was doing a lot of stuff to do with like physics and animation and things. But yeah, here we get into the old stuff now from like February 25th. God, it's been a long time. This was the old version of the call where I was trying to follow Dave Jiggles now, John. I was trying to follow like old concept art, and this is when I was using Asgore as reference. It was crazy. and then we switched to the demo version that everybody said looked like it was out of Smash Bros. I actually didn't mind this, but the final is obviously a lot better. Like the final looks a lot darker, but specifically because of Toby describing it as like some place where you'd go and you would not feel safe, and it's almost like going into an enemy building or something, or some sort of like lure or something from like Pokemon, you know, that would be owned by like Team Rocket or something. That's what I went off, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. I actually liked the idea of the lights going on and off because it gave it some nice atmosphere. It's totally different to like every other area. But as the voiceover in this bit states, it's like before we get to this one here, it states that, you know, like all the textures were redone, all the lighting was redone, a lot of the models were reworked and stuff, and we were slowly getting there with that, kind of getting an idea, like with Waterfall, where I showed off the bit for that, where that was a work in progress. I showed the test area with all the particles and everything. That was basically the same as that. This bit was interesting, because I don't think people quite understood this, but this kind of alluded to the whole thing about other projects or other things that I've done just not going as well as I would have thought. And then the hype at the end. This was me basically saying, like, I was super excited and I didn't want to mention it at the time, but when I've come up with text here and it says, like, you'll see and hear why later on, that's because we were, at this point in time, I was doing the art test for Gerson. So I had Jenny Says Mao do the model for Gerson first, and I was crossing my fingers that would go well at this point. There was no like other characters going on. It was just a case of, yeah, I hope this goes well, because if it does, then there's potential in future to get more done. And the thing is, based on other works that I've tried doing in the past, I was like, kind of apprehensive about this. So even though I was excited for like more characters and everything, because I was thinking to myself, it's going to be great. We're going to have like a big cast. You're going to be able to recognize everyone in the underground and stuff. That's when at the end there, I'm like, I'm not so sure, because normally when I get to this point, like other previous projects, everything just dies or whatever, you know. And then this bit where I showed the video from the shopping list, where I was just like, look, I'm going to take my money and I'm going to use it to buy models, and it's going to be good. So just give me the list of characters. That was the turning point after we'd got Gerson. So there was like, what, 3 days between, I think, or something. That was where the art test was successful, and I was like, sweet, so this works now, so we can get new characters. I think Jenny did Red, Gerson, Fish Receptionist, Catty, and Bratty. We all look really good. But then they're doing like indie game stuff now, so I kind of ended up switching to Ash, but Ash is fantastic as well for NPCs. We'll get around to that later on as well, because that's so good. Let's speed up here. It's funny actually, because I swear I met Jenny either on DeviantArt or Twitter, because I was just searching up stuff. Oh, this bit with Sans. I gotta play this. Happy with the results that were commissioned. So that already means there is at least one new character to the cast that wasn't there before. That is pretty important.
Sometimes, when no one else is around, a flower appears and whispers things to him.
So funny.
Flattery, advice, encouragement, predictions. Weird, huh? I swear to God, I'm going to fucking kill.
So specifically with that one, this is done. I don't think anybody else thought about this other than it's funny. But this is a unique environment that I made specifically for having a laugh and doing voice actor style shots. It's all 3D. None of it is like just flat textures. But yeah, what happened was at this point, me and Lofi were going through and doing Sans VA stuff, and we'd been waiting for a while to get a chance. And Lofi's like, dude, I've got time now. My dad's in the background doing the lawn, so hopefully we'll be fine. I don't think he can hear it on my mic. And then it's okay, everything's fine up until like at a certain point. It was this point. Everything's fine, and then he's like, "Dude, seriously, I think I can hear it getting louder in the background." And I'm like, "No, I think we're good. We can go for this take and see what happens." And sure enough, the lawnmower gets closer, and he just stays in character and swears his head off. As for the animation itself, the animation is actually me. This is me doing all of the motion. What I was doing was basically mocapping myself here. It's actually pretty good. All my direction for it and everything. So like looking, well, where I'm looking and everything, and where my head's moving. That's all me. I was just trying to do it to the VA stuff. It's the same with like the eye rolling and everything. All of this is just me moving around, and then I just put it over Sans for a laugh because it just looks so funny. So that's another neat little thing to go over, and then a particle effect at the end there as well. It's the same particle effect used for the bike at the beginning. I just changed the color on it. But yeah, a lot of like enhanced presentation for this at the moment. The funny thing is, it's all done with jokes over the top of it, so you never stop truly to think about how it was done or really what effort went into it. It's just like, oh, it's just a funny bit, you know. Oh, blocking out the resort, I remember this. I had comments on this recently, just like, dude, I remember when this was being done, and I'm like, yeah, it's finally got done. It's great. You know, it's nice being able to see this environment the way that it is in Blender. I love doing the little pieces of scenery and stuff. They really add to the environment. The funny thing is, it's like I think it's later on I make a slightly sarcastic comment where I'm just like, I'd say something along the lines of the reason why the underground's dark is because it's underground. It's just so funny. Hey, Damon. Oh, here we go. This in particular, this bit.
Literally getting the reference now, and by reference I mean I'm looking at what I think will be a good idea, and then I'm like, okay, I'll implement that. This definitely looks like, if anybody sees me in VR in the next couple of days and I'm just sat in Snowden 2.0, then you know why.
So that was me essentially making a declaration there where it's like, dude, I'm just gonna sit in here and copy this all by eye because it looks that good. That's why Latty's credited at the beginning, because I couldn't just take Latty's work and then copy it by eye and be like, oh yeah, this is totally all me. You know. Damon says, congrats on the Undertale update. Thanks, Damon. It's going great so far. Like, admittedly, this is the point where I'm just relaxing and resting. I'm waiting to come back and do stuff again, but I can still do stuff at the moment like this. This bit with New Home, I remember when I found out like what was going on with it and why it was running so slow. I ended up implementing the same fixes to almost every other environment, but Hotland still remains the one area that runs at like single digits, primarily because there's just too much going on. I'm gonna have to cut it up into like individual pieces for each scene. But at least it doesn't try and load 60 versions of itself all at the same time. That was crazy when I found out I was generating like 60 million polygons on screen and in one go, and Blender was just having a heart attack because it's just like, dude, too many geometry nodes and arrays that are not applied. What's going on here? You know, this is me talking about it where I'm just like, dude, loading up 60 versions of Hotland at once is insane. Danny Ruiz says, oh, hello. There we go. That's like me loading up 60 Hotlands at once. That was me actually fixing up New Home so that it runs at not single-digit frames, because it was running at like 2 frames per second before. And then there's the building that I would eventually place the cherry blossom on for Saroba's demo. I love this. I'm just like, yeah, let's see if the camera works. And then next minute, it's like, oh yeah, it's 17 frames a second. At least it's better than 2. and then it just clips through the wall there. I just left that in and made a funny comment at the bottom of the video, just like, yeah, just ignore the clipping, it's fine. I still like how out of all of this, the entirety of New Home is like basically a mixture of Final Fantasy 15 environments for Alticia, or like Final Fantasy 15 inspired models, and then it's a bunch of other stuff like buildings that have modular assets on them, and then the designs for those buildings are just like copied from other games. So like there's one from Smash Bros in there, specifically from the On It map from Mother. I was like, yeah, I need that in there. So what we've done is, and what I mean by copying is, we take the building model and we just extrude out the same shape, and then we place the windows in the same places, and you get a similar looking building, but in New Home style. So it's not like I've just totally ripped everything and just gone, oh yeah, it's mine. Instead, it's like, no, I built it by hand. It's just inspired by these other ones and the locations for like the doors and things. Hi, Blair. Oh, this bit. This is where we're loading all the assets. Let's skip forward a little bit.
That's me having to put
Sarova?
down there because...
Yeah. This is me. I thought people were going to react negatively to this, but they didn't, which is great. This is explaining about editing Saroba's skirt, and I might still have to do more editing to it in future so it actually flows properly. But, like, you can't see it too much there, but the model was, like, going over her feet and showing too much at the front. So I ended up having to edit it tastefully so it wouldn't, like, totally just look terrible. And, yeah, it was crazy. No, John, no. Explaining the particle effects and everything for people in the audience that might not understand it. And then, but what about the fan service? No. But yeah, explaining that and then showing New Home with the cherry blossom tree here. The only thing that I don't like about this cherry blossom demo is the simple fact of entire sections of like the flowers are coming off instead of just the petals. I don't know why I did that. I really don't know why. It's something that I can fix really easy. But this is when I was still blocking everything out without using like motion capture or whatever. I've been holding off on motion capture for quite some time. This is when I was doing everything by hand, and obviously it was taking a lot longer to do. But this demo was so good. Because this was I think one of the first instances we had outside of the original like demo stuff of a character fully animated and voiced over. I'm gonna put this on because this always gets to me.
But rumor did reach us that this human never raised a hand against any monsters, big or small. And before we knew it, the barrier was no more. No one seems to remember how it happened, but they even survived. Heck, they even made a monster ambassador or something like that. Made me think of a certain deputy of ours.
At this point, right, in the actual presentation that I did, a lot of people apparently, and if you go and watch that one, the POV video, a lot of people in the crowd are actually crying at the delivery and everything, and just because it's Yellow, man. Yellow is very it's very sad in its neutral and pacifist route. And the music in the background doesn't help either, because that's the sad music from it. And even though there are some bits in that animation that I think I could probably do a little bit better now, when you go back and watch the POV, there are a few people just crying in the audience. And I was like, okay, that's something I've not heard before. That shows that it's at least good that I'm getting an emotional response, you know. So then here we've got the was Sir John? Yeah. If you go back and watch the POV and listen out carefully, you can hear people in the middle crying. Here we go. So after that, this is where everything went crazy, right? And what I mean by crazy is that not only was I in a rhythm for just building stuff, but and including interesting little references and things. I love in the actual show as well that we did. There were people constantly like, "Why is Toriel here? Why is Toriel here?" And then we had Voidly in the audience just being like, "She's a reference, god damn it! Seriously." It was so funny. But yeah, I got into a rhythm over the course of the rest of the year that was really good. And you can see like me just pumping out update after update after update for environments and trying to get them lit and looking nice and getting most of the scenery here, like all the images of burger pants. And then here's the final stuff going on with the resort, like cutting out the windows so we know where we're going to put the background geometry. Would it have been clearer if that she wasn't posed, says Danny. That would have been clearer if she wasn't oh yeah, I get what you mean, like if she was T-posed. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not ripping on anybody. I'm not like turning around and being like, oh, people are stupid for this. They're not. It was just funny. Like I did say in one of the other streams ages ago that I probably am going to get a lot of comments about like, why is Toriel everywhere, you know. So it was funny. So don't get me wrong about that. It's just it's amusing. So yeah, you can see me just like on a roll here, just going over every little detail and just producing them like slowly. We even had somebody in the audience recognize the McDonald's logo there and get that reference. You know, that was fun. I heard somebody going, "Oh my god, it's McDonald's! Why is it McDonald's?" I'm like, yeah. I'm thinking to myself, you know, that's actually kind of cool that they picked up on that reference. Especially because I think in the stream, we even turned around and went, you know what, that'd be funny if it was just like a McDonald's reference. So that was fun to hear. But during this, I mentioned the fact that I love all these little details. Like, Undertale in 3D is part being able to figure out where you actually are in terms of, like, you should be able to go into a place and immediately be like, oh, okay, it's the ruins, or, oh, it's snowed in. And you should be able to recognize the area, even though it doesn't look the same as the sprite version. You should be able to recognize, like, key things and be like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then next moment be like, oh, these little details are nice. They actually kind of make it feel like, you know, it's lived in, like it's an actual 3D environment where monsters walk around in. You know, so I like doing stuff like that, and part of it is like putting up different posters and references and just adding small bits of scenery all over the place. Oh, here we go. Here's Blair's blooper. This is so funny.
The ruins and other places before it, where it's all been like monster language, apart from Temmie Village, which it's Temmie, you know, so Temmie gets to have English, or at least broken English. Yeah, I figure the closer we are towards the resort, the more English we're gonna see.
Oh, I know this one. It's Snail Ice Cream in the 4th chapter. Everyone goes to the beach and she buys ice cream for all her friends, and it's a big snail flavor.
Again, that's me mocapped. I love that. I took the audio and I was like, I'm just gonna mocap over the top of this again. I think that was the second one that I did, and I just mixed it a little bit with one of the old Alphys animation ideas that we did, where she's like poking her own fingers, looking nervous, and it's so funny. I love all the bloopers like that. And then this bit was on about animation. Again, this is animating like her and stuff, but it's not using physics yet. It's using hand animation. So that's me going through and being like, okay, at this frame, I want the hair to move this way or whatever. And it's explaining that like for a long time, because I appreciate small details, I was so proud of animating like the hair, the ears, anything else like tail, cloths. You know, I was animating all of that by hand, and that was a big part of like pride for me in the animation. But it would have took forever if I'd have done that. And then when you see me switch over to like stuff later on, which I'll point out at the end, when you see me switch out to like the physics stuff, just made stuff so much more easy to do. and still pull off that kind of thing. Oh, here we go. Here's where I was on about the lighting for the underground as well.
Maybe not that much though. Hang on. If I do handle a new clamp instead. The idea is they turn the head fast, but they shouldn't have go that much. The mood of the lights. This is another thing that I know people are gonna say, like, oh, the underground's dark, and it's like, yeah, the underground's dark, but it's dark for a reason. It's because it's underground.
I don't know why. I hope people don't take that offensively when they hear that. When it's like, oh, you know, people are gonna say it's dark, but you know why it's dark? It's because it's underground. You know, I've tried to find quite a lot of different ways to light the underground that make sense naturally without it looking too bright, but also playing into the fact that it's underground, you know. So it's hard to get it just right, especially for scenes not to look like overly just totally blacked out in shadow, you know. It's something I'm still working on a little bit, but you see instances of me fixing it in certain scenes, and I'll go over those as well, because the way that I do lights, normally, I've explained this on stream before, but the background I normally have as like a jet black color, and you can change that to like grey or white, with white being like super bright so you don't really have too many shadows. Normally what I do is I drop it to black and then put lights in the scene, and the reason why is so that I can get like a really nice contrast with my lighting, and I can get certain intensity with it. And then normally what I'll do is, if I think it needs to be a little bit brighter, then I'll turn it back up from black to say like dark grey or mid grey. Just see like whether I can get away with still keeping the atmosphere, but just making it brighter on camera for everybody. And it's again, it's a little sort of like balancing game that I have to do. Spiders, man. I don't think people read this in the event because they were too busy, you know, just like laughing and having a good time, which is fair on them. There was like two people that were talking over everybody, which kind of sucked. One was just talking over everybody and making crazy comments, and then the other one was just like came in really late and was just like, dude, the models need work, the models suck, the models suck, the models suck, and kept on repeating it. And I was just like, nah, that's not nice, that's rude. You know, but apart from that, I don't think anybody actually paid attention to the fact that I've deliberately been trying to make the spiders look super cute, you know. I love the way somebody shouted out in the audience, it looks like it's eating a watermelon. It's like, yeah, it kind of does, but at the same time, it's a cartoony spider. Come on, you know. I actually referenced proper spider walking for that as well, so that's why I'm happy with that. And he's got like a little bob to him. I think we showed off Greg after this. Yeah, there we go. There's Greg. That's me cutting to Greg when I was animating him on stream. Greg's amazing. But yeah, that was actually explained there as to who Greg is, because I just kind of threw Greg out, and everyone's just like, wait, who's Greg? The Tom and Jerry logic. Voidley's like, Greg, no joke. Like, out of everybody in the audience, listening to Voidley was the best thing for me, especially when people were making like stupid comments or being rude or, you know, just talking over everybody, because I was sat right next to Voidley. You can see it in the POV. Every time Voidley gets super hyped about everything, no joke, I just had like the biggest smile on my face, because I was just like, dude, I this is what I wanted, you know. It was great. Like, here we go. So this is me messing around with physics, and the idea is that by putting these in front of objects that have collision, and then giving them collision, what will happen is they'll just collide with each other and explode, and it'll, wherever these land is where I'm gonna have debris, and it was always random. And I'm like, okay, let's see if it'll just work without being too severe. And instead, the parts just blow off everything and bounce everywhere, you know. Those two people were not great, says John. Yeah, I ended up muting both of them. Like, I don't normally like muting anybody, but like, even the mods and the admin for Undernet were annoyed, you know. You'll have to write the names down in your death note, Dave. To be fair, I don't even know their names. Like, I think I kind of remember like one of them. They're in the video. Yeah, like you can see them. I think in the POV video. But yeah, I don't want a witch hunt started anyway, so we'll avoid that. Here's me mentioning geometry nodes. Like, I've mentioned geometry nodes in the past before, but this was an actual, like, way to show people how easy it is to do things in Blender. I'm gonna have to do, like, tutorial videos for some people at some point. Maybe I'll do that while I'm having time off. But this is a neat way of being like, look, I can create scenery and have it go wherever I want and make it look randomized, and it actually doesn't look too bad. I can do this elsewhere, and we get this sort of detail. You know, I've been using it on grass and everything else for ages. It's come a long way. The part of the thing where I don't think I've explained in previous updates is just where I came from with tools and stuff. Because I started out with like really, really primitive tools, and when I mean started out, I mean like when I started doing 3D back in like 2004, like end of 2004, beginning of 2005. I started out with like really primitive tools where if you wanted to do anything like cover an entire floor in grass or whatever, you didn't paint anything, you didn't you didn't use geometry nodes. You literally had to copy and paste every individual model by hand and then rotate them and try and make it look randomized that way. It was the most painful thing ever if you wanted to do what I'm doing right now. Like, if I wanted to do what I'm doing right now, but with, like, 2005 technology, honestly, I think my 2005 self would just be like, and just give me the middle finger. It was that crazy. So whenever I say, like, oh, look, I can do this with geometry nodes, or, oh, we can do this, it's pretty cool, it's nice and easy. Not only is it letting people know that developing stuff isn't that hard, provided you have the right tools or the right knowledge, but it's also the whole thing of just, like, me showing off and being like, look, you might not understand the backstory behind this, but I have suffered to get to this point, so I can enjoy explaining all this tech stuff. It's crazy. This bit explaining physics, I caught this bit so well. Everyone in the audience, at least the people that were commenting, were like, dude, she's made out of like one polygon, is that Mew Mew? And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, it's Mew Mew. I've explained it. It's just nobody's listening to the audio at this point because they're too busy laughing. But this is the physics test of Mew Mew with the wireframe on. And the whole explanation for this was just, I accidentally put a physics bone on her head and then didn't realize that next minute her head snaps. There we go, and there's the head snap. That was definitely something. I remember everybody in stream just being like, wait, what? And I'm just like, oh my god! That was fun. Oh, there we go. Gifts you can hear. I'm gonna put Aaron on because Lucy's take for Aaron was great.
I love the way the head is just snapping for like no reason though. It was crazy, and I'll probably put it in the update bloopers for when we do the event.
You can check all you want.
So again, Aaron was something that was a later edition. Aaron was like a month or two, I think, before the deadline, and this is done by Ash. And I really do like it as a model. Like, some people go like, oh, it's primitive or whatever. I like it because it's based off artwork that I sent. Like, Ash does really good models in terms of they are accurate to what you send. So if you send, like, a certain style or, like, a picture, they'll be able to create that for you. And I really like that. And the deal we had, or still have, for the project is basically, I'm paying for all these models, and as long as I keep paying, they'll keep doing models because they're using it as practice to get better. So, we're a mutual benefit. It's great. But yeah, Ash's artwork is interesting. I'll have to show you, like, behind the scenes at some point. But the facial rigs and everything are actually really cool and really versatile to use instead of using, like, shape keys and stuff. And then adding like physics to the tail and everything was really cool. And the hair, I ended up doing like a custom normal map for the hair and adding physics to the ears and the hair as well. And then what I did was I also went ahead and masked off the bottom and added like realistic scales. But you don't get to see that in here. You get to see it in like previews at a later date where all the lights are hitting it different. But it was fun just to get kind of an idea of Aaron's movement and stuff. It's like with a lot of these animations and things, the idea was that I was bringing them in to show people that look, these characters are finally being animated. This is kind of what I think they would move like, or this is how they're gonna be doing idle poses. We finally get to see them actually come to life, even if it's only just like very very small stuff at the moment. Oh, so that was fun. Just showing off that potential and being like, look, just wait in future until we get all of them moving around a little bit more crazier. This is fun as well. I thought people might take offense to this because of it not being totally 100% accurate, because I know some people have mentioned it before, but it's like when I mentioned about the secret trans flag in the background, I know people have turned around and gone, but wait, where's the white? And it's like, well, Mew Mew's meant to represent the white bit in the center, because of her being the character that's transitioning. So you can see it there. It's snuck in. I don't know whether people again will take offense to that. I hope they don't, because I spent like a while setting that up and making sure that that was good. I do like that in terms of like environmental storytelling there as well. And then we've got the explanation that I had to do, which is like, okay, so if I want to do the core, I've got to do Heartland, and if I want to do Heartland, I have to do Waterfall because they all connect to each other. That's crazy. That's just been crazy, like just showing that visually, just to help beat that into to understanding. Are you kidding me? Says Memes. Hey Memes, you just came in at this time. I'm literally just doing like the behind the scenes style stuff, like dev commentary, so it's all good. But yeah, this is where I was doing the lab as well. I'm not gonna go too much into. No, I'm not yapping about Holland yet. I'm not gonna do too much about the lab here because that gets covered in the lab's separate behind the scenes video. I'm just happy with how it looks at the moment. Like it's so fun to go around that environment finally. I'll just skip over this bit. Mew Mew's model. I'm so glad we got the model from Mew Mew. So happy with it. I remember when we posed this on stream, and then did the inverted version. For anyone who doesn't know about this, I spent a long time editing the back of this and making it better because there was actually a lot of effort involved in changing textures and where they were placed because of the difference between models, but I got it right, so it was fun to do that and then pose it. That's a reference pose to another show, but I've not told anybody about that yet. I think I alluded to it in the behind the scenes. Here's Sammy's artwork. I really like Sammy's artwork. I've said this like multiple times now, but I really am thankful we got this done because it's again another like little bit of involving the community in the project just for the sake of enjoyment. I think the problem that I have at the moment, He-Man. I think the problem I have at the moment is that a lot of the community just think that I'm just like so focused on the work that I don't want to hang out and just chill and talk about Undertale or whatever. But I actually do want to go back and just hang with people and stuff because I was actually kind of regretting that the other day where I'm like, dude, I've worked myself so hard now everybody only knows me as a workaholic. Kind of sucks considering this originally started with me just like chilling out in servers and then pulling people in and being like, so what do you think about this idea? Is that a body pillow? Yeah, that is. I had a couple of people laugh at this in the presentation. I remember when we did, because this is stream footage. I remember when we did this. This is Sammy's artwork on a body pillow. I remember when we were coming up with like all the stuff that Alphys would have, and I think somebody mentioned Alphys would have a body pillow, and Sammy went and did the artwork, and then came back with it, and we were just like, yeah, Alphys seems like the type of person that'd have a body pillow or whatever. You know, it's anime merch. I don't know whether that's stereotyping or not, but honestly, I think I remember that now. It's just going back over the core and trying to plan how I wanted to do it. Considering I didn't want to do it like anybody else, because I'd seen like one other version of this in VR literally like ages ago. I mentioned it in I think a stream where I was like, dude, I've seen this, and I did have footage of it ages ago, but I think I deleted it from like when it was shown off. But there was another version of like the core that I could have referenced, and I just didn't bother because I was like, you know what, I'll go off the in-game version, but I'll just make it all kinds of creepy and as detailed as possible. He was the one that I referenced, and I was like, yeah, I'm not sure I want this. IDK wants to say says memes. It's fine, just chill. But yeah, this is the version that I didn't want to copy, and you hear me say it in like the video, but there's not enough of a death drop. It feels too claustrophobic, and the roof is too low. And I was just like, yeah, nah. I was like, I like the idea of being able to see around VR worlds in first person, so it gives me an idea of where things should be or how things look in 3D. But at the same time, I was just like, I don't want to make it like that. And then we go on about the death drop and raising the roof here just to make it feel bigger. Well, it's the same space and it's the same layout and everything else, which I think Josh made a point of saying in the presentation. It's like, it's the same layout and everything. The only difference is it's using more detail. It's using the lighting more dramatically. And it's using bits of the concept art to fill in the blanks. And then, of course, going over this bit here. I don't know whether anyone paid attention to that in the presentation, but it's just like, dude, I welded this type of corner so many times. It was painful. I remember, you hear me say it in the video where I'm like, oh, hey, Voidly. Because Voidly came in one of the streams when I was literally just welding all of these corners together. It was so infuriating. I wish there was an easier way of doing it. I tried looking for ages and messing around with geometry nodes. I know, like, throughout this entire update, people got sick of me asking questions for, like, Blender and stuff. Like, specifically Bakers. Bakers just got, like... I don't know whether Bakers got, like, annoyed with me loads or whether they were just, like, joking about it. But I feel like Bakers has just been partially annoyed by me asking so many questions just because it's, like, they were the only go-to I really had for Blender in terms of, like, somebody with experience. And I'm like, it makes perfect sense to just go to the person that has experience and ask them whether they know how to fix my problems first rather than going and looking on Google. Because if I can save myself time, well, then that's great, you know. And I think I think I maybe asked one too many questions of Bakers to the point where they're just like, yeah, dude, I'll still help you and everything, but I just get this hint. I don't know what it is, but I just get this hint now that I've annoyed them so much. I hope I'm wrong about that, by the way. Bakers watches the video later and goes, dude, I don't know what you're on about. It's like, oh, I hope not. You know, I hope I've not annoyed you. Because the thing is, I do development stuff like this and obviously grabbing ideas off people and things like that from like servers. But I don't mean any of this maliciously or with any ill intent, or I don't set out to deliberately annoy people. I'm just after ideas and solutions and stuff, you know. Honestly, it might have been painful, but it's looking great. Yeah, it's looking great now. Thank you very much, Damon. This bit was crazy to show off. This was the the higher poly bit when we were using all the spider tool before we get to Muffet's area. This is really early work in progress Heartland, showing that off. Because you can see all the stuff underneath and then doing the lighting. Oh god. There we go. Sue says Moody's interrogation every 2 days. I don't mean to interrogate everybody repeatedly over and over and over again to the point where I annoy them. It's just, let's put it in my perspective, right? You sat here, you want to do this project that's so massive. You enter a community that you know is incredibly passionate and knows way more than you do about the game because you've only played it once. And as a result, your immediate thoughts whenever you go somewhere or you need some questions answering or maybe you just want extra ideas is you think, okay, I've got a massive amount of people that I can ask for different ideas here, or I can ask one idea of 10, 20 people and I might get different responses from them. So the idea is that you go around and you ask as many people as possible because then you get different answers, and using that you can kind of come up with one which will kind of hit the middle ground and just work really well so that it seems plausible and realistic for the vast amount of viewers. And then I went around practicing that for ages, just being like, you know what, I'll ask this person that, or this other person this, and what ends up happening is I get one of the responses which I've joked about in the past is instead of getting oh, this would be a really cool idea, blah 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 blah, whatever, I get I don't know, it's 3D, isn't it? It's not 3D, you know, I don't know. It's just crazy. I'm sat there going, oh, all this potential, and I'm not getting the answers or sort of responses that I would have wanted that would help drive creativity. Instead, it's just people just dude, it's 3 a.m, you're asking me crazy questions, just go away. I sound like a madman when I'm laughing in the background nervously, but it's I didn't want to upset people, I didn't want to annoy people. I'm just trying to maximize the amount of reach that I have and use that to then come up with solutions real fast. You know, using as many people as possible for helping, with all these ideas. Here's one, coming up with dark scenes. This was me on about lighting before with shadows. This was that I think is black or close to black, where I normally do all my lighting, and then you can see earlier on it was lighter. There we go, there's black. You can see when it goes lighter, you can actually see more, but the problem is it takes away quite a lot of the atmosphere, and you can see a lot more. So it's it's that struggle of, well, what do I do? How do I go about doing it? How do I make this look interesting while also keeping that atmosphere that the lighting generates? So it's gonna be crazy trying to wriggle around with that in all areas, really. I also think I didn't mention it in the video, but I mentioned it in the behind the scenes. This I think was reused from the dog shrine, and I also mentioned why it looks a little bit empty as well in the behind the scenes. I won't go too much into that, but I really like Muffet's area that looks a little bit like a cafe or a dinner table place. And then this bit, doing the old version of Snowdin. At this point, everyone was kind of just I think still a bit rowdy in the crowd when we did the crowd event, or the live event, sorry, in VR. But at this point, me just getting really angry at Snowdin because this was the old version. That was a ridiculous amount of polys that it did not need to be. It's dude, this version just sucks now. I can see what I was going with the ideas really early on, but that just sucks. That version of Snowden does not exist anymore. Only in my nightmares. I know how that feels, constantly feeling like I'm going to hurt somebody or annoy them. Normally it happens because I worry so much. So many relationships die because I'm so anxious, as Damon. I think it's more for me, I never used to worry about that kind of thing, but when people bring it up loads where they're just like, dude, you've asked me so many times about certain things, or why me? You know, you always ask me for ideas or whatever. It's I start feeling like I'm upsetting people when I don't mean to. Ages ago I would have just been like, nah, just shrug it off. It's no big deal, you know. But now it's like I've got to actually think about how I'm affecting people when I'm doing this kind of thing, because part of me is like, I just want everybody to have fun, and I just want to have fun developing it, but at the same time it's like I don't want to upset or annoy anyone or have everyone feel as though, you know, they're not welcome or whatever, depending on what's happened, you know, because there have been a couple of situations that have been a little bit crazy throughout development, and I'm just like, dude, I just want to have fun. If everybody else isn't having fun, I'm not having fun. You know. Hey Sky, nice to see you. This was an old image from like, I'm gonna say like the beginning of Heartland, and it was so funny. This was from Twitter, my old Twitter account, and it was so funny because this was my idea behind Heartland. It was just like, I'm going to take the ideas from Temmie's concept art, take some of the assets that I can easily kit bash, and make 90% of Heartland with it. That did not happen. That did not happen, primarily just because of, like, the layout of Heartland and everything else. It did not go down that well. Not as well as I thought it would. I love the way I make fun of myself there, because I'm just like, dude, it was foolproof. And then here's where we cut to the last bit before the other bit, which was showing off Snowden in the works. That was heavily cut down, this bit, because I mentioned before about how I had to cut certain bits out, and a lot of like other bits on the way to this section now were just cut out because of time constraints, because I didn't want to go on for like 2 to 3 hours of an update just showing like all the context for everything. God, I remember getting to this part and just being so happy. Especially because it's inspired by Final Fantasy VII. And then is this the... Hey, I got some spur fun here. Do you want it? Wait, what? This was the bit that was unfortunately glossed over, I think, in the live event, and this actually gave context to everything as to like what happened, you know. It's really important as well, so it's kind of sad that it got talked over. Take one. Damon. So here we go. The thing that is important about this is the yellow text underneath, while also listening out to what I was saying in the video. You can go back and listen to it if you want. But the important part being that, you know, like some people just go in and treat it like a game. And I did not treat it like a game from the get-go. So I had a totally different experience. I think it was like when somebody mentions it there, where they're like, "Oh, you can do encounters," and I'm like, "No, I'm not just gonna go picking fights with people. Hang on, seriously, I don't think I can just go into somebody's place and just take everything. Please." Oh, that was it. That was the detail for the candy where I hadn't read the sign on it that says, "Oh, you can take one." At least I don't think I did, and I'm just like, dude, I've not been told I can just take that, so I'm not going to, because I'm not just going to walk into... Like, I give an example, I'm like, I'm not just going to walk into somebody's place and take the stuff, you know? And I was deadly serious about like that, because of me treating it as if I was actually there. I was deadly serious about that. I was like, I'm not picking up anything that's not mine, you know? Take one. Can we put that on the statue? The only things that I do is like for the statue here, where the statue's looking lonely and it says, "Umbrella, take one." I'm like, okay, maybe we'll help the statue then. I think the statue would probably thank us for it. Put the umbrella on the statue? Yes. That music, man. I'm gonna have to cut it there because of the copyright or potential copyright. But that scene has been in every single trailer because of how important it is and because of the stuff that I mentioned when I'm showing off like these scenes with it. Like that scene is so pivotal just for the connection between the player and their environment. You know, it's just like it has to be in every single trailer. I remember I used it as kind of like a joke thing now as well, where I was like, dude, it's gonna get in there no matter what. You know, it's a reference. And then here we go. There's the other part of this where you can hear me. I'm joking about something. I think it's like the dog in the previous area where it's got like the artifact that it eats and then runs off. And then when I'm coming back and talking, we get into this room and the music starts playing again from the music box, and I immediately just shut up. Like it's that impactful to me, and it's that important. I just shut up immediately. I do the same in VR. Like I've been in multiple different worlds that have the music box in VR, and I do the same thing every single time. I literally sit in front of that statue for like a minute when I hear that song in VR and just do not say anything. Here we go, and this bit as well. This bit was important, like massively important, because Alphys is busy talking about how she basically hates her own guts. Because she just feels incompetent, feels like she can't do anything. And I again, like some people are like, dude, you're a lot more cheery than your username suggests. What's the deal? You're nothing like that. And I'm like, yeah, just go back far enough and you'll find the other version of me that was like my username. And this hit home like really hard. Hearing Alphys just be like, dude, I feel like I hate my guts and I'm useless and stuff. You can go back and watch the update video. You can hear me literally trying not to cry on microphone while I'm reading Alphys's bit because I'm just having like flashbacks. It's nuts. But that was another important bit that I thought I'd put in just because like I didn't know whether anybody would relate to that or not. I know I heard at least one person joking. I think it was Josh in the audience being like, dude, Moody found out about depression, and I'm like, oh, you don't even know. You don't even know. You know, don't even get me started. You know. I don't know whether it was Josh. It might not have been, but I definitely heard somebody say that. And again, there's another comment from me there just being like, dude, that really made me upset there. Because it's too familiar and too personal. That's the bit with Hotland. Oh, the bit with New Home. This is another instance of, again, of me saying and keeping with my own rules and stuff. Because, like, this is where everybody's turning around and being like, in the stream at least, because this is from, like, the old stream, people being like, oh, you should get the locket, you should get the knife or whatever, and I'm like, dude, no, I'm not going to take that, it's not mine, you know. And then eventually people are like, no, dude, you really need to get that, and I'm like, okay, I begrudgingly pick up the locket, and, yeah, you can hear it in the audio, I get audibly upset when I almost get forced by chat to pick it up, I suppose you could say. And then there's the music that just does me in at the very end. Oh, and this bit as well. This bit was important as kind of an idea of setting up where we came from.
でもあんたは一度もラブを手に入れなかったな。
What a me!
トリエルに言われたからね。
Slowly,
bit by bit, something did change. The more I cared for others, the more I fought to overcome my own fears and...
So, specifically, these two videos, Watame has a similar story for Undertale as well, in terms of, like, being affected by it because of stuff that's happened to her as well. And then this one, after it, this was another one of somebody going through depression at the same time as playing the game, and then coming out a better person because of it, and then dedicating an animation to it. And I was just like, dude, I'm going to use those as inspiration. You know, so that was pretty much explaining that bit there, just being like, look, we're going to use my playthrough, Watame's playthrough, and then this other video, and that's where I'm really going to go from when it comes to making Immersiontale. Oh, and then the pre-alpha here. This is before the Undernet, and this is something that I actually liked showing. Because I don't think anybody had seen all of this before. This was like really old renders that I'd got on my hard drive. This is like when I was doing prototyping for stuff before I even started what would be Immersiontale. And again, this is using freely distributed models. I think Josh has this this hallway, or this version of the Judgment Hall. This is when originally, when I said like it was going to be a small animation, I was literally just going to do like the Sans genocide fight and then leave it at that. And the whole point being is just because I thought it'd be pretty cool to mess around with like effects and stuff. And then as the text states, like just animating stuff got me really interested in doing more. And then as I start finding more characters, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll start practicing doing that animation or this animation, and maybe I'll do this area, and I'll try lighting it based off this, and it just slowly got better, and you can see it in the in what essentially is the prototype. Like, a lot of people have been taking this as like the final version or something like that, and it's like, no, this is the prototype. This stuff doesn't exist in actual Immersiontale, the current version at the moment. This is just all like prototyping ideas and getting shot setups and trying to figure stuff out. Like the papyrus fight, that's not the same now. The bit with Undyne where she's throwing spears and everything, that looked pretty cool. This is the old rig where it was just all kinds of messed up because it was just two rigs merged into each other. So you're seeing like one of the other rigs sticking out there. Because it was essentially like the Undyne model bolted onto Mordred's armor that was heavily edited from the Fate series. Because I thought that just looked cool, you know, so... Wait, so I have a game theory. Sans boss fight is in Immersiontale because of taxes. Hey, Alvin. There we got the player here, doing the slide. Gets them round Undyne. Undyne's like, excuse me? The early version of Metaton X or EX, this is done again, like, early prototyping, where I was like, dude, I'm going to try and do something crazy. I love the way, like, I had people in the audience be like, dude, why the kick to the chest? That's so mean. I'm like, yeah, because it's not all, you know, good and safe and everything. Metaton can be mean sometimes. The dancing there, I originally got the dancing off some videos online. I just copied the dancing. Insert crushing blow from MK11. Well, the idea originally for Immersiontale for, like, the mini animation was just showing, like, the player essentially getting beaten up on all the way through. You know, it wasn't sort of like, oh, this is going to be fun dodging and everything, or like a genocide route. This is literally just players getting beaten up on like mad, which is why you get the fireball bit here. And that render messed up there in Blender. I have no idea why, but the actual thing is pretty cool because it shows Asgore, the old model for Asgore, coming down, and then player just about dodging it, and then sliding to the side, and then doing this. That shot was actually inspired by the Fate anime as well. And then I remember Voidly being like, in the audience at this part, being like, oh my god, that area looks so cool! This area is actually back in. It is the oldest section that is still remaining. I'm using it for the Hyperdeath Arena it had to come back because of how much effort I put into that area at the beginning. But the idea being that this is like the starting area for the Azrael fight, and this is the prototype version. The idea was I'm trying to go through like all of Azrael's phases and trying to dodge and everything at the same time. And I think the bit that I didn't show on this, or I couldn't find, was I did do a bit where he's using his Chaos Sabers, but I just I couldn't find it. So the player was going to get beat up 24/7. Yeah, essentially it was just going to be like all of the monsters just beating up on the player all the time. The glowing eye makes you look like Alan from The Greyman. Why is the eye red? So there's I was going to mention that there's two important factors in the entire film that I can't spoil completely. There's one is the soul thing that I've got going on, because a lot of people are like, dude, why is the soul just floating alongside you, right? That's an important thing that I can't properly mention yet, but that's kind of tied to it. And the other one is the eye, because the eye's a really important part of the storyline. And the only way I can describe it is, if you've ever seen Frisk be drawn with like either yellow or red eyes, it's pretty much the same thing, just with the player as well. It's the only way I can summarize it at the moment, because it's part of the player's storyline as well. I don't even know if I'm going to have it be like totally glowing like this again. The idea on the original one was this would only happen on like increased stress and depression. So by the end, that's why it's like that. I know I was going to get a load of comments from people being like, oh, why has he got the Sans eye going on, but it's red instead of blue? But it was a way that I thought I could convey emotions a little bit, you know, or something that's going on that's a little bit different. I may think about doing it differently in the final. I still kind of want to do that, which is why I alluded to it like at the beginning here, where I said like the bit where we have a joke at memes in the lab. The red eye is actually there again. Does that mean Moody is Sans? But yeah, that's why this is a really cool prototype for Azrael. I remember animating this and just being so happy. Wait a minute, did I? Oh, that's another thing that I should mention. It's not exactly spoilers. Not even Right Eye or On Fire, I would have not made the connection with Sans. But yeah, the other thing to take note of, and something that I think will only probably be behind the scenes unless people are looking out for it in future, is the right side acts totally different and independent for the left. I think I might have it here in a moment. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. The left one closes, the right one doesn't. That's not sort of me just going over an emotion thing that makes it look cool and makes it look as though they've done damage. That's deliberately for a reason. I love that. Even though it's low frame rate, and I was just trying to plan out, you can see where I was going to put the fires in the background there, and where I was going to get rid of the stars. But I love the oh crap face, and then the explosion there from the giant star. It's gonna be so cool to animate this actually properly with like better animations. And then this was just me testing out the lightning effects from like literally years ago at this point. And then here's the bit where I'm celebrating the community involvement. This is where everything started with like the Undernet. I love the way Lofi, you can hear Lofi in the POV be like, oh my god, he didn't. I remember this. This was ages ago. It's so funny listening to that. Only because like this is the earliest instance of meeting up with Lofi. Sinner here, I have not seen in ages, was like one of the first people, if not the first person I think I introduced to the project. And was, I think, my first friend on VR chat. And I was like, yeah, I just kind of want to show you this thing. And they were like, okay. They watched the trailer, the anniversary one, I think it was, or the one before that. just the one that's entitled Undertale the movie or something. And I was like, just check this out, see what you think. They were like, oh, that's cool. So I explained the project, and they were like, oh, I've got this person that can do like Sans, maybe Papyrus, more Papyrus. Do you want to like talk to them? And I was like, yeah, sure. Turns out it was Lofi. I just need to find out. That's the problem at the moment. I can't figure out who anyone is in VR because they keep changing their usernames. It's terrible because I'm just like, I associate them with old usernames and I can't find them anymore. But yeah, Lofi was originally going to do Papyrus. Then Lofi changed to Revtrocity. So Rev was going to do Papyrus. Then we had problems with that going on because of just schedules weren't really going well for anybody. So Rev dropped and then just helped people get on the project. Which I say just, it was a major thing. So again, major thanks to Rev for that. Then we had somebody else do Papyrus, but there was a little bit of issue with them doing Papyrus. So we ended up replacing Papyrus again. So there's a joke now that we have basically just a curse on Papyrus's role. So hopefully Happy, the new person that's also done Onion San, will be the one to break Papyrus's curse. There's Wally. Wally is I think one of the first 5 people that I got to help out with the project, or at least look at it. She does Frisk's voice acting. Yeah, this is all just a massive celebration of everything up until this update now, of just like everybody getting excited, showing off bits of the early stuff from like that was early Snowden with Sans and Papyrus there. Where is it? We have Lucky in here. There's Lofi again. Lofi when he's doing his Sans, his early Sans voice. He changed it so there's a lot more inflection in it and stuff, and a lot more emotion. There we go. Old Snowden. That looks so bad, but the animation for Papyrus and Sans looks good. There's Lucky. Lucky is a really, really awesome guy. He can do like so many crazy voices, and he knows so many old games and stuff. It's really fun. I was talking about Rev and when we were hanging around with Rev. This is like one of the funnest times I've ever had in VR. Funniest thing is about 90% of it is me sat just behind Rev while Ubzakuza plays Breakout, and somebody plays Hopes and Dreams in the background, and then Evie's bit here.
The key. I can tell. Holy shit! This is amazing.
This man here is the pure personification of determination.
I love the way Maze mentions that there at the side, where he's like, dude, this guy's made out of determination. And I'm like, you've not seen anything yet, Maze.
Moody, you did such an amazing job. I love it.
It's not over.
Shut up and take my money. I'd pay to watch this.
I love that line by Evie. Just like, shut up and take my money. I'd pay to watch this. That has been in a ton of the videos just because I find it so funny. Then those where we were going over Asriel. I remember when I made Asriel with help from Floral again. I mentioned it in this video, but Floral helped with the body sort of like block out, and then I was able to make my own design that was detailed and everything. It's crazy. I remember everybody in the audience at this point just kind of half shutting up, but at the same time being like, dude, are we watching people watching the video? And I'm sat there thinking, well, you kind of are, but the whole idea is that it's a celebration of everything that's come before it and how far we've got. You know. What sort of hollow is that? Oh god, Bleach was amazing. But yeah, here we go. We got everybody cheering. Like, all these events are always so fun, having people like really happy and cheering and recognizing stuff and being like, oh, that's so cool. That's why I do them, you know. This bit here.
Oh, hey, Damon.
You can hear Alvin in the background of that being like, wow, this looks like Disneyland. So cool. I remember mentioning I wanted the trailer, like when I put out the final trailer, I wanted to have like a 90s Disney trailer feel, you know, where like it was golden era Disney. That'd be so cool. There's Pope Undyne. That joke was so funny. You can hear Ion in this video because that's when he showed up in VR. This is when we did the New Home demo. Oh, memes! This bit with memes and Voidly was so funny. You can hear Wally in the background, like completely freaking out because of New Home.
No, don't tell me. Memes, no. It was supposed to be expected. Mooney said within like a part of an update he needed to connect it to freaking waterfall in Hotland. What else did you expect?
That was when I said like I'm gonna have to do the core. And I'm gonna have to like link everything up, and Memes was just like, "Wait, we're still in Heartland?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, oh no. Oh, so funny. But yeah, this was again. I like doing these like callbacks to other parts in time because it gets people to remember everything. Because like, I think people just. They come in and they expect certain stuff, like, say, for instance, if I'm doing Waterfall, they expect to see Waterfall at the end. But what I like doing is doing this, like, overall narrative, like, throughout the entire presentation, where it's like, look, this is how much effort has gone in. This is how crazy I have to be to attempt this. This is what you've all been like when you've seen, like, other stuff. And this is, like, other shots, if I've got any other shots of people. It's like, do you remember this? This has been fun for me, you know. While I've been working on this and driving myself crazy, this is what I've actually been enjoying, is just like sharing these moments with everybody. You know, so it's nice to build up to the final bit. Then we go into...
Long ago, two races ruled over Earth, humans and monsters. One day, war broke out between the two races.
So this is Z doing the lines in the video. Z does Toriel, Monster Kid, Undyne, and Muffet. That's some heavy lifting in terms of cast. I'm not going to go too much into the environments because those are already covered, but I do love all the voice work that was done in this. Like Wally's famous bit that we've heard like a million times now, and people are like, dude, I've heard this one already. You know, this one.
Ow! I'm alive? I'm alive!
So, I'm going to, for this one now, I think I'm gonna do... Have I got the POV? Yeah, hang on. I'm gonna switch over to the core update POV. Hang on. For this one. There it is. Only because people's reactions... Because the reactions for this are just too good. I can't waste these reactions. Especially because, like... Not only will you get to hear Voidly in it just be like, oh my god! You get to see John in the front as well. But you get to hear everybody else, and no joke, this is the part that I keep telling people I live for by doing this project. Is just like, doing this stuff and seeing people so excited and so happy. I couldn't be any happier hearing stuff like this.
God, I'm hearing that.
Long ago,
are we watching the Undertale movie? Watching the Undertale movie?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned before.
Is now the moment you...
I heard my name. Wait a minute, what?
Here's where the new stuff
after a
starts.
long battle, the humans,
Oh, okay. Okay.
they sealed the monsters underground with a magic spell.
This is all the new stuff.
Many years later, at Mount Ebott, legends say
Enjoy.
those
Enjoy.
never.
Dave cooking once more?
You can hear Wally just be like, oh my god! Because she'd been seeing the same beginning for like forever, and then And then when I've shown it off in like all the new geometry nodes and graphics and everything, just like, oh my god!
I'm alive. I'm alive. That's me.
I love that. Just that's me. There's Flowey. Flowey animated purely by physics alone. There, you know, that's something that'll be touched upon in the behind the scenes later on more. But yeah, there was some instances of like characters just totally being animated by physics and not actually traditionally animated, which is crazy when you think about it. Sky says, I'm fully aware of your madness. You have literally recreated an entire game's maps for an animation project that will probably end up using 40% of it. You don't know. Like, if I can use as many shots as possible and show off this place as much as possible, then, you know, it's going to be great. I love that part, even though then I was not there because I needed to eat breakfast, says Alvin. You know, that gender-ambiguous child sure took a fall well, considering the fact that it used its face to cushion it. That's part of the original, you know, like the pre-alpha that I was mentioning before, the one that had the player in it, where the player was just getting beaten up loads. That was an idea brought over from that, is it's just like Looney Tunes style fall, and then it's just like, oh, you've used your face to block the landing. There's the player connection with Frisk there.
World, it's kill or be killed.
That was the guy that I muted because he was being rude.
Ooh. Controller
British
Maybe
British.
idle enemy.
What did
is the
Flowey
way
turn
you
into
twist.
Snatcher from a hand?
Toil has the
So all of these shots are all like the idols and stuff. The thing is, I tried to get them as accurate to in-game as possible, like either the idols or the movement. Because the idea is all of these are going to be roaming around. I mean, the best way I can describe it is like, you know how they have like either Xenoblade or they have like the most recent open world Pokemon games, where they have all like the Pokemon or the monsters roaming around freely. My idea for the underground literally is I want that. I want you to be able to see monsters going about the daily business, you know, in the background or whatever, or just living, doing like all kinds of crazy stuff while player and Frisk are navigating through this, so it makes everything feel like it's a lived-in world. That's been like the main objective since day one, is to make this feel and look like it's natural. You know, compared to like the older animations where there was just none of this.
I will give you a cell phone. If you have a need for anything,
He just has
just
one of
call.
those up his sleeve.
That's Josh there saying, oh, she just has a cell phone up her sleeve. The thing is, I couldn't figure out where else to put it, and up her sleeve just seemed so convenient. It's just like, dude, it makes sense, you know. By the way, I'm not calling out anybody here in the audience for that. Do not get me wrong, I am not calling out Josh in the behind the scenes. It's her burner phone. There's Greg. There's Voidley's bit where he says, it's Greg.
Mike, what's up?
Greg! It's Greg!
Greg!
Oh. Every time I heard stuff like that, I was just happy. Oh, that was a funny one.
Looks.
Hang on.
Mike, what's up?
Greg! It's Greg!
Greg!
That's when Toriel comes
How
on.
did you get here, my child? Are you hurt? There.
Ma'am, I'm literally 22 years old.
I was about to say, like, bro is like so tall.
Snowden.
And that is another one that's brought over. That's another one of the ideas. I'm glad actually that Asteroid was joking about that, but mentioned it as the whole joke. There's a disconnect between what's going on and what's being shown, and it's deliberately there for a reason. Again, it's narrative based, but it's funny that it was brought up as a joke. And it's like, no, this is a legit thing. It's part of the narrative. But people were too busy joking to see the new fire effect on Toriel there that I was using. And here we got Snowden, and we got Sans walking in the background for just a little moment there, like in the other trailers. All the snow effects do the heavy lifting, of course. But I love this.
That lamp isn't very conveniently shaped.
Technically,
Sans
just
model.
movie's interpretation of the player.
The funny thing about the Sans model there is, and you can go and watch it in like the behind the scenes when it comes out, or you can just go back and watch the core update video, is that Sans actually looks at the screen, and I deliberately did that to kind of hint that he knows what's going on, and then he looks back again, and it's like, I don't think anybody picked up on that because they were too busy just looking around everywhere, but he also has physics attached to his clothes now, so if you go back and look at that, his clothes react naturally how they would, which is real nice. Toriel kickflip, yeah. Toriel kickflip was fun. Glide is actually referencing another Sega game there as well, like Balan Wonderworld is referenced from Yuji Naka, the guy that created Sonic, by Metaton's hat being white and red, which is the same as Balan's. But Glide's effects are actually coloured like Knights from Nights into Dreams for the Sega Saturn. I just thought I'd do that as like a cheeky reference. I'm getting all those Sega references in.
The model is good.
It's Drake.
The models are good.
No.
I love that comment. The models are great. This is awesome. And then next minute it's like, because they see Ice Cap. I think it's funny because one of the other comments I think later on when we get to Hotland or something is somebody says on the middle of the crowd, they're like, dude, I don't think Toby thought about any of these designs in 3D. I was just laughing my head off when I heard that. So Sans knows this is a movie. Time for a movie theory, says Alvin. You're a Sega references, Sky. For real with that Dreamcast shirt and all. I know, right? I think I explained before about the amount of Sega references I've got on my character model. Like, fully. In one of the streams. There's John in the front row there. There's Childrake.
There's Childrake.
Yo!
Green. Ah, yes, it's Green Drake.
It's me. That's me.
Now, this is a story in of itself with Voidly here. There we go. The green one, that's me. That's one of me, Green's and Happy's mutual friend. Speaking of Sans, have you seen the one video I sent in off topic? I'll have to have a look at it later. I'm not sure I did or didn't. But yeah, the whole thing with Voidly here, that's a story in itself because for a long time we've given Voidly basically like silly gag bits at the beginning of all of the intros because there was no real like role for Voidly at all. And then when I started looking at expanding the roles recently, that was when I was like, you know what? I could probably fit Voidly in and it'll fill out like his character arc, because over the course of the updates, you see Voidly go from just like fan in VR to contributor to the project with ideas and stuff, and then actually at one point looking like he's going absolutely mental in one of the intros. And then I think that was actually the purpose for one of the intros, was I cut it in such a way it made him look like he was going insane. And then finishing the character arc by being like, okay, part of the cast properly, you know, with an actual part where I need to come up with lines for. But it was so fun having that be like a mini story in itself. Damon says, hope everyone has a great rest of the night heading to bed. Thank you very much, Damon. But yeah, a lot of these models as well, while we're watching this, a lot of these models were done literally like right before the update, and then I just had to spend like evenings animating them as best as I could. Like we're talking right up until like I think a couple of days, like maybe 4 days, before the update, I ended up busting my hands, and that meant that I couldn't do anything, and that really stopped production where I could have made like some more animation. But like up until that point, I was literally getting like models one day and then animating and getting them ready for animating like the same night or the night after. So I was coming up with this stuff like on the fly and then being like, right, that looks good. I like this. This walk cycle looks nice. This idol is great. And all these materials look great. Like with this stuff, with Snowdrake, it didn't exist until like a couple of weeks before the update, tops. It was nuts. When I say like I have really grinded out this update, and that's the reason why it's the biggest one, because I wanted it to be a celebration, a massive effort, and a way of making a statement, more or less, of just being like, look, you may think this project is not going anywhere, but you can see, no, it clearly is. And it's going even further now, because now I've got access to somebody that will help create all these characters like Cinnamon here and the Snowden shopkeeper. It's like, this isn't a dream anymore of having the the entire underground be fully realized. Instead, it's like, this is actually something that's already attainable right now. We've already reached the point of getting most of the models, all of the environments. So the takeaway from this update really was just like, look, we've come this far, we've got everything, get ready, because the next part is going to be really impressive. Like this environment, the shop environment was not actually done until after I'd got the shopkeeper. Because originally I was going to have the shopkeeper stood outside, and then I thought, that makes no sense. I was like, no, maybe I can do the shop. So then I went back and just modeled the inside of the shop. So that didn't exist until like really late in development. There's Nakarat Jester. A lot of these models got redone. Like Ash up until this point had done like, I think 20 models for NPCs. That's the most I've seen anybody do. There's Martlet just chilling out there next to Grillby. But yeah, a lot of these now are Ash's models. They're so good. They're so good. Like, I just ask for certain things that I need, like, detail-wise, or that I can animate, and bam, there we go. And also, before I answer that next comment in chat, somebody made a point in the actual audio here saying, wait a minute, why is Grillby using a rag if he's drying cups and stuff? And you'll see it in the final bit of that scene. He actually doesn't have a rag anymore because, one, it was annoying to try and get working and not like explode all over the place, and two, I was just like, dude, he's made out of fire. He would just lower his temperature on his hand a little bit and just use that to dry the cup instead. No, it makes more sense. Then again, alcohol and fire maybe doesn't go so well, so make of that what you will. Maybe Grillby just randomly has accidents where he explodes and then has to somehow come back. Freak alcohol explosion at Grillby's. Have you ever considered mechanized exoskeleton apparatus? That'd be cool. Secret attack, flamethrowers is violent. Somebody made a comment in here as well. Let's see in a moment.
Here are the 5 lines that Grillby will have.
I'll let you in a little secret.
Martlet!
I'm not actually the librarian.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, this is Martlet, done by Evie, as well as Saroba. I remember asking her to do it, like, ages ago. It was so good. Because of the whole idea of replacing the librarian, because I didn't have the librarian model. So it's like, Martlet doing that kind of thing would work. But the entire scene was done twice and rendered twice. because I didn't have Steam in the cup, and Steam had to be in the cup for it to be real, or at least seem realistic. So I got the Steam effects and just added them in there, and it makes everything just look so much better. The Sans walking, but when you see, because I'm gonna do like, I think the Snowden demo is gonna be out like tomorrow. Yeah, we did the ruins, right? Yeah, we did the ruins. So Snowden's demo is gonna be out tomorrow, or depending on when I've set it up, maybe a couple of hours time. But when you watch that, watch Sans. His clothing reacts to physics. So good. I know I'm making a big deal of it, but it's all because all these little details actually add up. There's Papyrus running like a madman now. And then Scarf Mouse with physics as well. That's actually been reanimated from the original. And again, I don't want to get too much into environments and stuff. There's people in the making comments about it's literally just Asriel's model, but edited for the dogs. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but I copied that off DeviantArt, you know, because there were no real dog models. Come get the dog of me. Game theory, game theory, game theory. I love the way everyone's like, wait a minute, Papyrus likes game theory? And I just had to slap that on the wall just because I found it funny. I just love the way it brought everybody's attention to that one wall where it's just like, yeah, I just got a game theory poster here. Like, eat, sleep, game theory. I wonder how many glasses he would have shattered practicing getting the right temperature to dry them out without damaging them, says Guy. Oh, here's the bit with Happy, right? So Happy's line.
Hey there. Noticed you were here. I'm Onion San.
Happy's bit as Onion San that he did first before Papyrus, and I'm so pleased with that, especially because like the water effects took a while to get down. I ended up having to pay for some water effects, which actually get shown off in the effects behind the scenes video, but they look really cool. And the fact that that Onion San model is not the cursed one that I showed off in one of the previous updates. And then another one of the hints as to what's going on in the story there with the glitching. Shiren! The new model of Shiren, which was literally given to me like a couple of days before the update went live. And I'm like, oh, I gotta animate this and do everything. And Gerson, I love Gerson in this.
Happy song.
Never say that again. Shut up.
Shiren.
That's the Deltarune, the emblem of our kingdom. The kingdom of monsters. What?
Tomorrow.
Great name, huh?
Say this.
I love that animation that I did for Gerson. That's not mocapped. That was when I was still doing stuff just by, you know, like eye. But I still like it. It's still fun. It doesn't actually have physics on it as well. That's the one that I animated by hand, the physics. But yeah, it's so fun watching that one. There's the shot that I was on about. And then Z
Do these
here.
humans?
Yo! How cool would it be if Undyne came to school? She could beat up all the teachers!
tomorrow.
Crowd going wild because of Deltarune. Because of them, like, waiting for an announcement. Meanwhile, we got, like... I love the way, like, a load of people went crazy for River Person. And, again, you'll hear it in the behind the scenes, but River Person had a lot of more love put into them while I fixed the rig and, well, basically redid and fixed the rig in, like, the last couple of days before the event. And there's the Temmie idea from Jurassic Park. Oh, that one I'm upset about because this render I did ages ago, it was supposed to be like the beginning of what was going to be the block out for Frisk's fight with Undyne. And I don't know what happened. The file just went missing. I've never been able to find it since. It just sucks. It just sucks. It's just vanished. So I ended up doing this one. This one uses an interesting trick where like some of the effects are 2D, some of them are 3D. And I've like merged them together with each other, so so it works pretty nicely. You can hardly tell, but yeah, it works really nice there. And then people commenting about Undyne's giant sword in her house being Cloudspawn from FF7, and I'm like, yes, another FF7 reference. There's Aaron again, but I added a little bit more to his animation now for Lucy, so he does another pose, and I've got to do more posing in future. But basically, that pose was another one inspired by Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, if I remember rightly. Let's see. Voidly says, actually, I told this to a friend about Deltarune and Silksong. If one releases, the other one releases, and that's what happened at the Switch 2 announcement. Yeah, heard about that. What's FF7? Says Sky. Sky, you joking there? Undyne's one, it's subtle, but this is Undyne's date animation for when she's getting ready to fight Frisk. You can just see subtle hints of like physics on her gills, or you know, on the side of her head and stuff. Let's see. And then that's the animation for when you actually are supposed to fight her, and she's like, "Come on, one more fight. Let's do this." I do have a friend who legit didn't know who the Beatles were until a few years ago, says Sky. I tell you what, like I was having trouble up until like really late on doing, what was it, Undyne's animation here, because getting her hands to stick in the right positions was such a pain. I ended up asking Bakers about it. Bakers didn't know. We were trying to figure stuff out for a while. It was like the last thing that I messaged Bakers about as well, for the time being. Other than, updates happening, have fun. You know. And then we got Hotland. Dun dun dun. They finally at Hotland. The previous version of this was faked in the waterfall update to try and connect it together. And then I was like, dude, I've got to properly connect it. There's a bit from the trailer, the newer trailer where the lights come on. So glad I finally got this looking good. And there's Blur's put as Alphys.
Oh, no,
So
the door to
cool.
the right. It's the door to the right.
Oh,
So you think
my
Alphys plays
God,
Undertale?
I'm gonna go. I didn't expect you to show up
over
first.
here.
Alright.
Does Alphys play the
Showered
game that
and
she's from?
dressed.
Oh.
That sounds like the one from
I'm
Undertale
totally
was
shit.
realistic.
Hiya.
Please.
That moment where everyone's like, dude, it's Undertale but realistic Alphys, and I'm like, oh, there's no other good model, so everybody's gonna be saying that now, you know. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to shake comparisons between Undertale as realistic and this unless I really, really outdo myself and do what I've said and make the underground look like its own environment that's living and breathing, you know, like you'd expect. But even then, I think I'm still going to be getting comparisons. Hey, people seeing red and everything else. This was fun, but rendering this, I'm surprised like my computer didn't die because of me saying like Hotland was at like 2 frames. Pyrope, man. Pyrope I got like literally a couple of days before the update as well. I had to animate that. The funny thing about Skate Girl here is I literally went on a reference hunt on YouTube, found somebody in shorts that was doing like a live reenactment of the female Tony Hawk's skater idol animation. So I literally just took that and copied it. That shot though. That shot just... It's so much more impressive than you actually think. Primarily just because like you can see all of the detail down below and just how high up it is. Like, hang on. Like, you can see everything down there. That's the type of shot that I wanted like ages ago when people were like, dude, why are you doing Hotline like this? Why does it have to be so detailed and everything? You don't have to have everything be in 3D. And it's like, no. For shots like this, you do. You have to have everything. Because everything will be on camera and it'll be super impressive. You know. I loved that shot so much. There's Alvin coming in there now. All these characters though, we collected all of them. I could go on about more, but I obviously don't want to spoil the rest. It was so much fun. There's realistic, game accurate, flowery. Then obviously going back through everything and getting ready to animate here at the very end. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like for the behind the scenes, for the or rather the commentary over this, I really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic event. This entire thing has been great so far. I can't wait to eventually pick back up where I left off and have some more fun. But until then, and until next time, thank you very much for all watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye!